Let's try that again. What's up, everybody? Welcome again to the Podonthego Show. I'm your host, Raz. And this week, we've been talking about trust, and that's why I'm here. I've been kind of busy, but I just want to make sure I keep putting stuff out so you guys continue to trust me. I usually come out, stream live in the morning, but I couldn't get to it today because I've been working with a client, and I've had to go overtime with them. And I don't know much longer that's going to work out because I want to keep putting out content on this show, on Pod on the Go. Plus, I got kids and all this kind of crazy stuff. But you guys don't care about that. What we're talking about this week is trust. And today's episode of Your Favorite Podcast Sucks. If it is, I didn't have enough time today to really go in depth on one specific podcast or this week to, in the past, I've listened to a ton of the podcast episodes, and I want to dive deeper. I don't want to just do some surface weak explanation or weak description or weak analyzation of a podcast that I don't like. So, but Mark Maron is a prime example of what I'm going to talk about today. And it's if your favorite podcast charges for their podcast, then your favorite podcast sucks. And it's a couple things I want to go through today, again, really quick. And the biggest thing is that I think just a personal philosophy of mine, because I love the industry so much, I think podcasting should be free. I don't understand the need for a subscription to listen to a person interview somebody. They've interviewed other people. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And it's also one of the most human. It's one of the things that humankind has been doing for literally our entire existence. Verbal communication. It's always been free. Freedom of speech. The First Amendment is the reason why America is great. It's something I believe in a podcast on the go. I'll produce a podcast with literally anybody and do the best I possibly can. I don't care what their beliefs are, what their political agenda is. I'll produce it because I want to make sure that everybody is able to share their story. Everybody is able to have a voice. At some point, I'm going to do a nonprofit where I teach young kids how to get into this industry because that's how much I believe about it. And there's a lot of money to be made, and there's a lot of, I don't know. Anyway, that said, I think podcasts should be free. It doesn't make any sense to charge for an episode, unless I have two caveats to that, two exceptions. Number one is maybe you're doing additional content. Maybe you do an hour-long interview, but then you have a Patreon or subscription service that you charge your listeners for the extra content. Stuff that's more personal, stuff that dives deeper, stuff that gives more practical advice, something that allows people to listen, but also ask questions of you at the same time. So maybe you're charging for additional content. In my head, that's okay because you're doing more work, but the content should be the thing that you're focused on. The second thing is like if you are spending months and months and months producing one episode of a podcast, then yeah, maybe you can charge for it. Maybe you should be able to charge for it. What comes to mind is Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. his podcast will go, it'll be 2-3 months sometimes before he releases another podcast, probably longer than that. But when he releases it, it's 3 or 4 hours long, and it's college, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like college level content. It's he dove deep on one specific topic. He's doing research in libraries. He's interviewing people, asking questions. He's reading books on a topic, all for one episode. That I think that's fine. And he only charges $1 per episode after, the first 10 episodes are free. So that's like 2 years. The most recent 5 or 10 episodes are free. And then after that, you have to pay $1 for all of his interviews, for all of his episodes. I think that's perfectly fine, because especially if you have an extreme interest in the subject, if you're like an historian and you love history and it's your thing, paying $1 for one of his episodes on a certain topic is, basically free in this day and age, unless he's raised his prices. But what Mark Maron does, and a lot of other podcasts, is they charge you. Mark Maron charges you $5 a month for his interviews. But he's interviewing people who have been interviewed on other podcasts and TV shows before. So in my head, it doesn't make sense. Again, I'm not talking specifically about Mark Maron, but also I am. But like other podcasts like that, it doesn't make sense to me personally. I would never pay for a podcast. Number 2, the second thing I want to cover real quick, and something you can learn. A lot of people hate asking for money. And I do too. It's it's a prideful thing. It's like, I don't need money. I don't want to seem like I'm begging. I don't want to bother anybody. But if you want to get return on your investment for your podcast, then you have to ask for it. You have to trust your audience and trust that your audience will support you if you're putting out good content. Ask and it shall be given. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. Another quote from Matthew 7:7. Apparently Matthew's a good book of the Bible if you want to read it. But yeah, so you got to ask for it. Every episode. You know why? Because people forget. People forget that they are, lost my train of thought. People forget that they aren't on their listeners' top of the mind at all times. They forget. All kinds of crazy stuff is happening. Yeah, people forget. So every episode you have to ask for donations. Yeah, because as soon as a person stops listening to your podcast, they have a million other things to do. As soon as I stop recording this, I have to get my girls from school. I have to help make dinner. I have to make sure everybody's just, taken care of. Everything around the house is taken care of. I don't, once I stop doing this, I'm not going to think about it until I'm thinking about my next episode. And that's the same thing for everybody else listening to your podcast. So you have to remind them. You have to ask for donations if you're going to do a PayPal or a Cash App donation link. Patreon if you want to do a subscription service and give people something extra on the back end. Just ask for support. A subscription to an email list or a sign-ups to anything. RSVPs to live events, likes, share, review, all that stuff. People say it every YouTube video and every podcast because you have to remind people to do so. Because people will listen to your episode and love your episode and forget to hit like or forget to subscribe. It just is what it is. It's just how the mind works. It's always on to the next thing. And so, podcast players and YouTube, they don't make it easier because there's the autoplay function. And as soon as your podcast is over, it goes either straight to an ad or straight to the next video. So as soon as that happens, you forget about the last video. So you always have to ask people at some point in your show. You don't have to charge them, but you have to trust them that they will support you. And you have to figure out who your biggest fans are because they all share qualities alike. So that's a big part of it as well. But first and foremost, you have to trust your audience, and your audience has to trust you. If they're going to like, share, subscribe, donate, all this stuff, come meet you live, they have to trust you. They have to trust that you'll be there. They have to trust that they're going to be entertained or that they're going to learn something. They have to trust that you're going to talk about what you say you're going to talk about, and that you're going to be on time when doing it. So, yeah, so that's pretty much it for today. Final thoughts. It does not matter how long you are spending on the earth, how much money you have gathered, or how much attention you have received. It is the amount of positive vibration you have radiated in life that matters. And it's by Amit Ray. How that relates to today is that your focus should be on putting out great content and putting out positive content. We all know how bad the news is. I just watched the social. I think it's the social, not the social experiment, but it's a documentary on Netflix about how social media is, causing suicide and causing online bullying and causing depression, especially in young girls and young boys. I forget what it's called. I'll link to it in the description. But yeah, so we're surrounded by things that bring negativity into our life. There's nothing on the news, especially in 2020. Oh my God. Every other day, somebody was dying or getting shot, or there was a riot, or there was a protest, or, Donald Trump was saying something crazy, or the media was going against him, or he was going against the media, and everybody was just at each other's throats. Black people not liking the cops, the cops not liking protesters. It was crazy. So I'm asking you this. I'm pleading with you to put out some positive content. Every time you produce a podcast, do something with it that's going to help people. That should be your number one goal. It's not the money. The money's going to come. I promise you. If you keep putting out good content, the money will always come back to you. You're just recycling positivity, and you're going to get a return on investment. I promise you. One way or another. It might not be necessarily donations, but maybe people will come see you in person live and support you. And maybe you have a guest on your show that takes your business to the next level, or takes your life to the next level, or it becomes your spiritual guide in hard times, or your angel in hard times, who's always the person that calls you when you need somebody to talk to. So it's like you never know what's going to come back from a podcast, doing a podcast. So putting out something that you believe in, something that you can help somebody with. Because imagine, like, say if you charge for all your podcasts and it's $1, even if it's $1 or $5, maybe there's a teenager who needs to hear that, content, who needs to hear that interview, or that spiritual message you're putting out there, a positive message. Or maybe you're just sharing your story and how you overcame. And a teenager needs to hear that from you, or adolescent needs to hear that story from you in order to get through something in their life and find hope going forward. But if you charge for it, they're probably not going to buy it. So I say put it out there free. And then when people have money, they'll send you a donation if you ask for it. So yeah, if your favorite podcast charges to listen to their podcast, your favorite podcast sucks. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Raz, host of Pod on the Go. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the podcast. Leave a positive review if you get a chance. And if you want to, I don't need any donations yet. I'll take them. But the best thing you can do is go to my website, podonthego.com, and sign up for the email list. That will help me out a ton. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Raz. Peace out.